Good morning. Welcome back to Planet Doug Behind the Scenes for Friday, October 20th, 8:30 in the morning. Me sitting here looking exactly the same in one of my many red t-shirts. I have a red Coca-Cola shirt, a red Canada shirt, and a red Manchester United shirt. Those are my main three shirts. And then I have a really old blue t-shirt that I used to wear all the time. It was one of my main, when I was riding my bike, I would wear that shirt because it was so thin and light, but it's worn through to almost like a Kleenex. And I still wear it from time to time. And this morning, I tried to look different, I really did, and I put on this t-shirt, which I also have. As you see, it has a very nice Bali logo on it, and that was a gift from my friends Bekti and Adi in Sumatra. They gave me this as a going away present when I was leaving from their home. And I tried to wear it this morning, but unfortunately, yeah, it's just that little bit too small. And I think for most people, it's a perfect fit because it actually sucks in against my body. And I think that's meant to be a good fit. And I even put it on this morning because I wanted to look different. And I sat down here in front of the camera and I started recording. But within 30 seconds, I was just like, I can't do it. I tried to stretch it out before I put it on. You know, I'm like trying to make it bigger and get it off my skin, but the thing just started to get tighter and felt more and more constricting, particularly around my neck. I hate that feeling. If I can feel the collar against my neck, it just, it drives me crazy, and I can't do it. So I haven't been able to wear this shirt, unfortunately. I do use it though. I use it as a pillowcase quite often. Like in a low-budget hostel situation, you often find there's no pillowcase. You just have a pillow with that slippery material that they make pillows out of, and it can often be covered in a kind of mold or mildew, you know, and you don't want to put your head on that. So actually I use this as a pillowcase, and I put this over top of the pillow. And, you know, it's a nice cottony feeling. Oh, it's cotton, so it's a nice cotton feeling. But I can't actually wear it because it's, it just feels way too tight. I can't get over that. All my clothing has to be very loose, otherwise I go crazy. Yesterday, I was still working on a video from Sumatra. It was a video that I shot when I rode my scooter from the city of Padang down the coast of West Sumatra to a city called Painan. And it's a very beautiful area known as Mande. There's like a peninsula, a bunch of islands. I think they call it the Mande Archipelago. Maybe the district is also called Mande. I don't know. I didn't even know that name when I did my trip. I didn't know that the area was known as Mande and the Mande Archipelago, all these things. I only found that later on as I've been editing the videos and watching the matching video from the Lost Boys. I did a couple of things differently with this video that I kind of enjoyed. I shot some time lapses as I was riding my scooter along the highways there. And normally I would put music over top of it. And I did do a couple of time lapses with music, but for some others I did narration again. So I start the time lapse, and instead of playing music, I just plug one of my Rode Wireless Go microphones. Do I have my microphone? Yes, there it is. And I plug it into my MacBook, and I record into an audio recording app on my MacBook while the video is playing. So it's not going directly into the editing program. That doesn't really work that well for me. Maybe that would be the most efficient way of doing this, where the audio goes directly into an audio track in the editing program. But I like to have a bit more control over what I'm doing. So what I do is I record into a separate program. So I set up the video on my computer to play, but then I open up a audio recording program on top of it, hit record on that, and then when I'm ready, so it's busy recording everything, and then I hit play on the video and I watch my own video and I talk about what I'm seeing in the video and what was happening at that time. But I'm also using my Rode Wireless Go 2, which is a very handy microphone because it records internally as well. So the microphone itself has its own built-in memory. So I'm being recorded by the Rode, sending the audio signal to my MacBook wirelessly, but it's also recording internally directly. And as it turns out, that's the audio I end up using because it sounds better to me. I don't know where the problem is coming in. It could be because I'm recording on the MacBook, could be the program that I'm using, could be the Wi-Fi connection. But when I put those two audio tracks side by side, the one from the Rode internal memory sounds cleaner and better. It's a little bit, it's less distorted, less clippy. So I end up using that. So I have to export the audio track from the Rode using the Rode app, Rode Central, I think it's called. And then I can copy and paste that audio track into the video, sync it up, and then use that audio. That's what I've been doing. And I found that having that internal audio for my regular videos, it's not absolutely necessary, I don't think, but it's really nice to have, and I use it all the time. Particularly, it allows you to not worry about audio that much. On this trip, for example, that I took on my scooter, I was often getting off my scooter and then walking up and down beaches and things like that. And then I would have two GoPros, one GoPro in my hand, one on my chest mount. And then if I'm using the GoPro in my hand, filming me or filming around me, I'm using my regular Rode Wireless Go 2 setup, recording directly into the GoPro, which is fine. But this GoPro on my chest harness, the only audio it's getting is from the GoPro built-in mics. So if for whatever reason I'm walking down the beach and I turn off GoPro number 1, it's not recording anymore. And then something is happening in front of me or some people come up to talk to me and I want to capture that on video, I'll just quickly start recording on this GoPro and then it's recording. But the audio is quite terrible. It's very windy on the beach. You get all this wind noise. It doesn't sound very good. I could use it because there is audio. However, even though I've turned off my GoPro, it's not recording anymore. The Rode microphone is still on and it is recording internally all the time. It just records all day long. It just records everything whenever it is on. So when I use the video from GoPro number 2 and the audio is bad, then I go into my Rode audio tracks and then I isolate the part that matches that video. That's a bit time consuming because the audio file could be 2 hours long and I'm looking for a 30-second clip in all of that 2 hours. So you end up doing a little bit of searching, but then you find it, cut it out, and then paste it in and then sync it up with the GoPro video. And it's a lot of work, but you end up with a much nicer audio. So I do find that very useful, and in this video project I used it a lot. Without the Rode audio from the internal recording, I would have been in trouble. There were a lot of video sections I wouldn't have been able to use because the audio just wasn't usable at all. So yeah, big fan of internal recording now. And as I've been reviewing a lot of online gear all the time, I like watching videos where they're talking about gear. I've been watching a lot of videos about different microphones these days, and Sony just came out with a bunch of new ones. And in the reviews, people are saying that one negative thing about all these Sony microphones is that they don't have internal recording. And I can kind of agree with that now. It's not essential, but it's nice to have. So if I were going to buy a new mic setup, obviously I'm not going to because I have the Rode Wireless Go 2, but if I were someone else looking for a microphone for YouTube, I would definitely look for one that has internal recording capability. Again, you can live without it. It's a lot of work to use that audio, but it's nice to have, and it really can save your whole video project because you have that audio. If I didn't have it, as I said, a lot of the video I had, I wouldn't have been able to use. Exporting and uploading that file is an ongoing adventure, I have to say. I finally finished this video, and it took me, I don't know, I think I've been working on it for 4 days now, I think. It's just taking forever for multiple reasons. One of the reasons it's taking forever is that I'm still using the 2 GoPro system, and that easily doubles the editing time. But I'll talk more about that in a minute. But anyway, I've been working on it forever, and I finally have it finished. It's ready to export. I got everything ready to go, and I hit the export button on DaVinci Resolve, and then it was busy exporting it. It was going to take 3 hours to finish the exporting, and then it got to a video clip, and the export failed. And I got a message that I had never seen before. It said something about how the source clip is unavailable, and DaVinci Resolve has to use, it said something weird about how it has to replace it with stock this or that from some other source. And I'm like, I have no idea what that means, but it said something about, do you want to do this, yes or no? And I didn't know what it meant. And on my timeline, all the video was there. It was telling me the video was unavailable, and yet it was right there. I can play the video, and I thought, well, I'm not sure what you're saying, but I'll say, yes, do it. And I said yes, and then it crashed. And it just says, no, can't do it. So I tried exporting it again, and every single time it failed. And I was unable to export the project. And that is a disaster. I mean, because getting to this point, as I said, took me 4 days to finalize this video project. And if I'm unable to export it and I can't do anything with it, what am I going to do? Redo all of that work? Go all the way back to the beginning? Days of work to finally rebuild the whole thing? And I thought, man, this is not good. But then I noticed on the timeline there was a thin, intermittent purple line. It was so thin it was almost invisible. I hadn't really noticed it until then. I saw this purple line. I was like, what the heck is that purple line? And of course, there I go into Google search. You know, I'm always doing this thing. I'm like a caveman trying to get information by, you know, praying to the stars or something. You know, doing some sort of a ceremony around the campfire and shaking bushes, trying to get this, you know, spirit world to convey information to me. And I type into Google search like thin purple line on timeline of DaVinci Resolve, what does it mean, you know? And I send that message out into the spirit world, and I actually got all these like replies, all these results from places like Reddit, where other people have seen this mysterious purple line, and they wanted to know, they had the same question I did. And then there were replies that were useful, and it said something about when there's a thin purple line, it means that DaVinci Resolve is unable to locate the original video source. I was like, how is that even possible? Because as I said, in my timeline, I could see it. DaVinci Resolve was accessing the video. It's playing it for me. So how is it that when I go to export it, now suddenly it can't find it? And the solution to that mystery, of course, has to do with proxies. I didn't even know I was using proxies. I'd never set them up that I can remember, but it turns out that DaVinci Resolve is, when I first set up the video project, is accessing my original video source, creating a proxy, putting that proxy into the timeline, but then when it does the final export, then it goes to the original video that created that proxy, And I guess for various reasons, DaVinci Resolve had lost track of the original and couldn't find it anymore. But even that didn't make any sense because the original is in my media folder. There it is. Everything is right there, like DaVinci Resolve, there it is. It's in my media library. I can highlight it, it's there. I can play it, I can copy it, and yet DaVinci Resolve didn't know where it was. And the reason for that is because of the memory limitations of my MacBook. I was able to take video from GoPro #1 and copy it into my MacBook's memory, but there wasn't enough memory to copy the video from GoPro #2, so I copied video from GoPro #2 onto a micro SD card, and then I had to plug that micro SD card into a memory card reader, which I plug into the USB-C port. Because these MacBooks, for whatever reason, I do not understand why MacBooks are so popular. I'm always criticizing MacBooks, but I don't get them. I don't get the popularity because, I mean, they're very sleek and beautiful looking machines, but one of the reasons they're so sleek is that there's nothing in them. So there's no memory card slot. There's 2 USB-C ports and that's it. There's no USB-A ports. There's no SD card slot, there's no micro SD slot, there's like nothing. There are no ports. So if you want a port, you have to buy another gizmo. And so I have this gizmo. It came with the MacBook. The Planet Doug subscriber who gave me the MacBook, he'd also purchased one of these long, thin port adapters. And then you take this port adapter, plug it into the MacBook's USB-C ports, and then it gives you 2 USB-C, 2 USB-A, a micro SD memory card slot, and an SD card slot. So this adapter that you have to attach to your computer gives you all the ports that the MacBook should have had from the beginning. But anyway, so I have all these ports, and you put the micro SD card into the slot, and then you take that adapter and plug it into your MacBook. But it's very delicate, and I'm always moving my MacBook, so I pick it up, put it on my lap, then I have to, if I have to go make a cup of coffee or answer the door or go to the bathroom or get another memory, anything I have to do that involves getting up, I have to pick up the MacBook, set it aside so I can get up. But whenever you do that, the slightest jiggling of the power cord, which is plugged into this adapter, just if you touch it in the slightest, just a little jiggle, everything disconnects. So I guess that's what happened to my DaVinci Resolve program at some point. I remember days ago this happening, and then DaVinci Resolve couldn't find the files anymore because the micro SD card had been disconnected, and then everything on your timeline goes red. You get no video at all. It's just like empty red boxes with X's in them that say there's no media because, the micro SD card disconnected just for like a millisecond and the whole thing is gone. So then you have to plug in the micro SD card again, but then DaVinci Resolve doesn't automatically reconnect. Then you have to go into the program and find something that says reconnect. And I've done this in the past multiple times, and it was never a problem. But I guess this time, when I reconnected, I did it in a different way than I normally do. I did it in there's different ways you can do it. And I guess the way I did it this time wasn't the proper way. And when I finally, and then I ended up with all the purple lines. And then when I finally went to export it, it turns out I was using proxies this whole time and I wasn't using the original. So now I had to sit down and just I basically don't know what I'm doing, and I go through all of DaVinci Resolve, every menu. I just have to open this menu, scan it from top to bottom. It's like, nope, none of that looks like what I need. I go to the next tab. No. I went through all the main menu. I couldn't find anything that looked familiar that I needed to do. And then you go through everything and right click on everything, because when you right click, you get a new menu system. So I right click on the timeline video clip, couldn't find anything, going around and around. But finally, I realized that if you right click on the thumbnail in the media library, then you get another option in the menu way down at the bottom, something about relinking. So I thought, I haven't seen this one before. This one is new. And I went through this relinking process for all the videos in my project, and the purple lines slowly disappeared. And I thought I was done, and then I exported it, but it hit another purple line that I missed, and then the whole project crashed again. Because some of the little clips that I'm working with are so tiny. They're just like really short little clips. And then the purple line was so minuscule, I didn't even see it on the timeline. But then I had to expand my timeline out to maximum, resolution, and then scan the whole thing, finding all these tiny little purple clips. And then I was able to relink everything. And then it, 3 hours later, it finished exporting. So that was done. But then I couldn't upload it. The problem being, if I upload it from my MacBook, it takes so much processing power, I can't edit another video. So I'm trying to find another way to upload. And I tried doing it from my phone, as I talked about the other day. That was a dead end. And then I thought, oh, maybe I can do it from my tablet. So yesterday, I tried uploading from my tablet. And the first thing I did was try to copy the video into my tablet, and I was busy copying, but then it failed because whatever memory structure it uses on the tablet, it can't handle large files. And these files, all my video files, are from 15 to 30 gigabytes. And you know how you can format memory? You can format it as FAT, or there's these different formats you can use. One of them, you can't have big files. The other one you can. And I guess whatever formatting the tablet uses, it can't handle the big files. So I was copying this file, it's like 20 minutes goes by, it's busy copying. Then it got to the maximum file size, and then it just crashed, and I got an error message that says, no, file's too big. We can't store files this big. So I couldn't copy it into internal memory. So I figured what I could do is use a memory card reader, and I put the video file on its micro SD card, plugged it into here, plugged this into the tablet, and then I could copy using the tablet from this. Wow, that's working. That's great. No, it's not great, because you're uploading from the tablet. It's going to take probably 15 hours to finish uploading that file. And of course, before it finishes uploading, the tablet's battery runs out of power. It can't run for 8 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours, however long it's going to take to upload the video. So the battery dies, and the way you recharge the battery is through the USB-C port, but I can't do that because the memory card is plugged into the USB-C port, and while this is plugged in, I can't add power. I can't charge up the battery. So I thought, oh, maybe I can pull this out, like pause the uploading, recharge the tablet, and once the battery is recharged, plug it back in again and restart the uploading. I tried to do that. No. As soon as you stop uploading, it's gone. You get an error message from YouTube, and the whole file is lost. So uploading from the tablet was a disaster. Uploading from my phone wouldn't work. And now I'm back. I'm uploading from my MacBook. And it's going to take 2 or 3 days to finish uploading. It keeps disconnecting all the time. I have to do it through my phone, like I have to do the Wi-Fi connection through my phone, and it's a whole thing. And yeah, I'm just gonna have to deal with it. So I can still edit video. It just ends up being really slow and laggy, and it freezes all the time. It's a pain, but That's what I can. That's all I. That's the only option I have. So, yeah, those are my technology problems for this morning. Those are my dreaded technology problem stories for today's behind the scenes. Yeah, I'm very tired because of all that. That was such a tough day yesterday, trying to fight through all of this. Anyway, I came out the other end, and I just have to wait until the laptop finishes uploading. Of course, a lot of these problems come from the fact that the video is very long, which means that the final video export is very large. And in this video in particular, I didn't even try to make it shorter. I just took all the video I had from that day. I just dumped it all into the timeline and basically used it all. So it ended up being an hour and 45 minutes long. So it's like, yeah, whatever. That's the video I shot. That's the video I'm going to post. And I was still watching the Lost Boys video from that same area. As I talked about, I went to the coastline of West Sumatra on my scooter and shot a video. And the Lost Boys, they didn't go as far as I did. Actually, they didn't go nearly as far as I did, because they only went as far as a place called Ricky's, like Ricky's guest house. So they rode from Padang to Ricky's, and then they stopped there, and that's where they did their island hopping. All their experiences were there. But the coastline goes on much farther, and I rode, you know, the entire length of the coastline all the way down to Painan. But we essentially went to the same area, and I was watching their video and thinking about the differences between their lifestyle, my lifestyle, their personalities, my personality, their video style, just comparing and contrasting the two. And I was thinking in terms of length in particular, and I realized that if you want to shoot a shorter video, it requires a completely different mindset. You can't shoot video the way I think of it, the way I do it, and then make it shorter. That doesn't work, because when you're shooting it, if you want a short video, you have to know that in advance and shoot it that way. So one thing I noticed is that they rode their motorcycles from Padang to Ricky's, and I rode my scooter from Padang to Ricky's, and then I just kept going right past it. But their entire trip from Padang to Ricky's is probably 2 minutes long, where they're riding and then they say something about, oh, the traffic, and then the road. I think there were like 2 segments talking about the crazy traffic, then talking about how steep the road is, and then a third section where they finally arrived on the coastline, and they said something about, look how beautiful it is. But each of those 3 segments was like 20 seconds long. That's the whole sequence. Mine, I recorded, of course, every kilometer of that ride. So like starting at the door of my guest house, you know, as my videos always do, it's like, here I am leaving from my guest house. You can see it behind me. And then I'm talking as I ride through the streets of Padang. I'm talking as I go over the bridge. I'm talking as I'm riding along the river. I'm talking as I get to the hill where you climb up out of Padang and out the other side. And I'm talking and telling the stories the entire way that I'm riding my scooter to Ricky's. And I did shoot a time lapse, actually. At one point I stopped because, as I said in the video, this is like all the riding I'm doing. I've done it multiple times already, and I've shot video about this road already many times. So what I'm going to do is shoot a time lapse from this point all the way until I get to new road that I haven't been to before. And then I just shot a time lapse of that whole sequence. But me being me, of course, I still recorded every kilometer, even though I'd done it many times, but all of it was done in a time lapse, and then I was narrating over top of that time lapse. So the Lost Boys sequence of 1 or 2 minutes was, you know, I don't know, 30 minutes in my video. because I'm talking the whole time. So if I know I want the video to be a certain length, I have to think differently about video and completely differently about telling a story through video. Anyway, that was kind of a realization that I had. And the other realization was kind of interesting because I think when you're watching a YouTube video, sometimes you don't think about the technology that's involved. You just you're involved in the story and what the person is saying and what they're showing on video. But occasionally they'll do something that makes you think about the technology. And that happened on this particular video because there's two of them, right? The Lost Boys, two guys, Rob and Shane, and they're on different motorcycles. And then the video will cut to Rob, and he's talking about the traffic. And he was saying how dangerous and how crazy the traffic is this morning. And then they cut to Shane, and Shane was saying, actually, the traffic is really good this morning. I'm not having any trouble. So they're saying opposite things about the traffic that morning, and they jumped from one to the other. It was kind of funny, I thought. But then I realized, it made me think about, oh yeah, each of them is shooting video and audio separately on their motorcycles. And each of them has two cameras. They have a whole range of camera gear. Now, I think one of them has an Insta360 One RS mounted on his chin, and then an Insta360 X3, mounted on the handlebars. So he's got two cameras running at the same time, just like me, with an audio track in each camera. So two video tracks, two audio tracks for Rob, and then Shane also has like a GoPro and a 360 camera. So he also has two video tracks, two audio tracks. So here I am talking about how difficult it is for me to edit my video because I'm shooting with two GoPros and I have three audio tracks. These guys, four of everything, right? They've got two video tracks coming from each of them. So there's four video tracks and four audio tracks that they're all combining, and they're stopping from time to time to shoot on a drone. So they have another video track, and they used to have this guy Antonio from Spain with them, another traveler. So he would have his cameras too. So they'd have 6 video tracks. So I was thinking, yeah, that's a challenge. So I was thinking about them editing their video. It's a lot shorter. Their videos, of course, are a lot shorter and a lot simpler than mine in a way. But they also have like so many different cameras that they're working with. And yeah, that would be a lot of work for them too. That I think if you're not shooting video, you don't do it yourself, you probably don't appreciate just how difficult that is to keep track of it. Because, they don't edit their videos until later on. I noticed, I think that there was a 6-week gap in there. I'm not sure exactly when it happened, but they took a 6-week break. And they said they do that routinely. They're like traveling and shooting video for 3 months, and then they take a 6-week break. And then they come back and start again. And then they take a 6-week break or something. So they fly home, basically. So they all flew home for 6 weeks, and they did all these other things, personal travels with girlfriends or other friends, family, whatever they were doing during those 6 weeks. They don't record any video, and then they come back. And I think they did that in the middle of this. I'm just guessing, like maybe they went to Monday first, and then they took a 6-week break, or was it just before Monday? But anyway, so there's a long time gaps in there is what I'm saying. So even though they're shooting the video and then maybe editing it and posting it much later, like way after it occurred, they're still doing a lot of work. And maybe they need those 6-week breaks just to get caught up and deal with all of this video, because they'd have to keep copying the video from so many different cameras. They'd have to create a folder structure very carefully, nicely labeled to make sure they keep it all organized. You know, this video is from this GoPro on this day, this video is from the One RS on this day, you know, about these events, and keep it all organized. It would be yeah, it would be a lot of work. And I just remembered that a couple of weeks ago, actually, yeah, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, I was working on a video, like editing a video as I normally do, and I did a screen recording of the editing process. So what I think I'm going to do for today's behind the scenes to finish it off, because I'm talking about this so much, I'm going to take that screen recording and stick it in here at the end. I have other topics I wanted to talk about this morning, but I think I'll do those tomorrow morning or the morning after that. I'm going to end today's behind the scenes video with this screen recording of me editing a video. It's about 30 minutes long, I think. And when I edit a video, I've got various stages, of course. And this stage is what I call the rough edit. And all I'm doing is taking all the video I shot and dumping all of it into the timeline. So I'm not, you know, not doing anything, not doing a fine edit where I'm deciding where to cut it and how to, you know, do anything. You know, I don't do any fancy editing at all, but even Planet Doug style fancy editing, I'm not doing any of that at this point. All I'm doing is starting with a bunch of folders contain all the video I shot that day, and I take all that video and put it into the timeline, just all of it into the timeline, and then get it all organized, and then I can go back to the beginning and then do the real editing. So this stage is the rough edit, and it's the only reason it's important at all is because I'm shooting with two cameras at the same time. That's the key to the rough edit, because I have to insert video from GoPro number 1 and GoPro number 2, and then I have to see both of them as I'm editing, and then I have to line them up, sync them up. And then in this video, I can't remember if I inserted any of the Rode audio as well. I don't think I did, but I'm not sure. But anyway, because I have to input video from two cameras and then line everything up, that's why it takes time. And I just thought of that because I was talking about the Last Boys. They would have to do it with 4 cameras. Though, again, I don't know how they do it. I don't know what their editing process is, you know, what their workflow is. But this is the way I've been doing it, whether it's good or bad. And then once I finish the rough edit and I have everything on the timeline, then I can start all over again and do sort of the fine tuning and do the actual editing for the final video. But anyway, this is a screen recording of me working on that. And if you're interested in the, you know, the real nitty-gritty of behind-the-scenes technology, perhaps you'll find this interesting. If not, well, then that's the end of today's behind the scenes, and I'll see you in the next video, and enjoy the nitty-gritty screen recording of me editing a video. What I wanted to do is call up my editing program. This is the screen from DaVinci Resolve, which I'm using right now on my MacBook Pro, and I wanted to give a rough idea of some of the editing that I do to make one of these videos, like one of my long form day trip journal videos, whatever you want to call them. And right here, I'm in the middle of doing what I think of as a rough edit for a video that I shot while I was in Sumatra. And in this rough edit, basically all I do is take all of the video that I shot, like all of it, whether I'm going to end up using it or not, and just dump it all into the timeline and stitch it all together. So over here on the left, there are a series of folders, and each folder contains a different set of videos. So this first folder, it's actually, the folder name is so long you can't see all of it, but here at the end it will say GoPro 1. So this contains all the videos I shot with the GoPro that I hold in my hand and that I mount on the scooter. I think of that GoPro as GoPro number 1. This second folder contains all the video I shot with GoPro number 2. There's a number 2 at the end here, though you can't see it. And that's the GoPro that I have mounted on my chest harness. This folder contains all the video or photos. Well, actually, yeah, it looks like it's just all the video that I shot using my smartphone, a GoPro Galaxy Note 10 Plus. This folder contains all the photos that I've taken during that day. And finally, this folder contains all the audio files that were recorded internally by my Rode. So if I move this over again, I usually have it sitting right about here so I can see 2 rows of thumbnails. So these are all the videos. And when a thumbnail has a red line along the bottom, that means that portion of the video, the red line, has been inserted into the project. So you'll see that all of these ones have a red line underneath them. So this is as far as I've gotten in terms of doing the rough edit for this video. And the last one that I inserted was this one on the timeline, which is 2408. And I have DaVinci Resolve set up such that when I click on one of these videos, excuse me, got a frog in my throat. When I click on one of these videos, it automatically opens up the folder where it's located and then highlights that video. So up here on the left, you can see 2408 is highlighted with a red box. So I know that that's that video. And if I click on this one that's above it on the timeline, you'll notice it opened up the other folder for GoPro Hero 2, and then it highlighted 2260, which is this video right here. So those are the last 2 that I've put in. So when I get to this point, basically I have to cut the video here. So this is where I stop speaking.
You know, because I guess you're never at a loss for sunshine, for drying your wet clothes on a boat, at least.
So there, the video pretty much ends. Looks like I'm panning a little bit to the left, so I'll go all the way to here. And now I need to cut these. Command B, as you can see, cuts the video all the way through here. And I delete all of these. So now I have a nice smooth edge to work from. And you'll notice that up here in the editing window, I have it set up for the rough edit. GoPro number 1, of course, is the main video, so it fills the full background. And then GoPro number 2, I put in a small window here in the bottom. And I do it that way so that when I'm doing the rough edit, I can see both at the same time. And as I'm doing the rough edit, I can make decisions in advance which perspective I want to use. In this case, because I'm walking around, 90% of the time I'm going to use the main video because the GoPro on my chest harness generally isn't capturing anything that is particularly interesting. And of course, you always see the other GoPro in the video. So here you can see that my chest harness GoPro is pointing forward, as it always does, and it shows the GoPro that I'm holding. So it's probably not the best view. So in this case, I'll probably be using GoPro number 1. But if I'm riding on my scooter, let's see if I can find some scooter video. So here's some scooter video. Let's go over here. Again, I've got GoPro 1 and GoPro 2, and in this case, I may want to switch back and forth between the two. With GoPro number 2, the one on my chest harness, you still see my other GoPro in the video. You can see it there, but that's not so bad. So in this case, if I play the video a little bit,
I guess relatively fancy coffee shop along this road, about 13 kilometers away.
And I may want this view and then after a few seconds I'll switch to this view, and then I'll switch back and forth between them. But when I'm walking around, it's usually GoPro number 1 that I use. And I'm not an expert in DaVinci Resolve at all. In fact, I know next to nothing about DaVinci Resolve. It's way too complicated for me. And I do want to switch to a friendlier program, one that has a lot more automation built into it, a lot more simple graphics that I can use. DaVinci Resolve is meant for professionals who build everything from the ground up. So it doesn't really have a lot of user-friendly features. It's meant for professionals. But it does have keyboard shortcuts. And I do use keyboard shortcuts all the time. Like right now, my playhead is here, way back in the middle of the video project. And now I want to go all the way to the end, and I just hit function arrow, and that moves the playhead all the way to the end. You know, rather than trying to do it by hand or using the mouse, it's just a lot faster to use keyboard shortcuts, right? So here I am at this point, and what I'm going to do now is add the next video. I want to build it out from here. So I click on this video, just so I can see which clip is next, and it's 2408, which is up here, and then I want to add 2409, this one. So I just select it, drag it down here, and of course it clicks into place. That's a setting. You can turn that on or off, but obviously I have it on because I want them to line up perfectly. And if you get it close enough, it's like a magnet, and it just sucks it into place perfectly, so there's no gap. And in this case, I'm using the Rode Wireless Go 2 microphone, and I have it set up so that because there's 2 microphone transmitters, I have each transmitter recording to a separate channel. And this gets a little bit complicated. I need to do that because if I put the microphone on another person and there are 2 of us speaking, sometimes I don't want the audio from the other person because they overlap. I need to be able to control both audio tracks individually and then mute one of them sometimes. And if I have the audio tracks, the audio signals merging and going onto the same track, the same channels, then I can't separate one from the other, and that causes a lot of trouble. So I always have to have them recording to individual channels. And if I click on clip attributes, like if I right click on here, you can see there's a setting here called clip attributes. I can see what is going on with this. So here underneath audio, you can see it's a stereo signal, and I have embedded channel 1 going to the left channel and embedded channel 2 going to the right. So just to demonstrate what's going on, I'm going to change both of them to 1. So embedded channel 1, and in this one I'll also change it to 1. So this one is going only the embedded channel 1 audio is going to these tracks. And I'll say yes to that, and notice you won't hear anything. There's no audio at all, and here you can see that there's no audio signal. And that's because there's nothing on embedded channel 1. I'm only using 1 microphone here, and it goes to embedded channel 2. So that's why if I go to the clip attributes, normally it looks like this, 1 and 2, and if I click OK, you can see it comes back. Everything looks normal, but now if I play it,
Well, it should be easy, I think. I see like scooters are coming from this direction.
there is audio, But there's a problem with it. It's only coming out of one speaker. And if you were listening to this with earbuds, you would only hear my voice in one of your ears. And this is a very tricky thing, because sometimes when I'm editing, and I'm editing on my laptop, I don't hear it. Like, the audio is only coming out of one speaker, but I don't notice it because the audio is coming from my laptop. And if I pick up my laptop and hold it close to my face, then I hear it. I was like, oh, audio is only coming out of one speaker. But sometimes I don't notice. So I have made the mistake in the past, and people have commented on it, where I've forgotten to fix this, and then they only hear audio in one ear. So what I have to do is go to Clip Attributes and change both of them to Embedded Channel 2. And then hit OK. And now the audio is going to the left channel and to the right channel. I hope all that makes sense. But by now, when I hit OK, now everything is good. If I play it,
The men there just now were asking me.
The audio is going to both the left and the right side. So that's all done. And also what I do is I'll play the beginning, and then I look to see whether I turn on GoPro number 2 or not. The one on my chest harness. You can see it there in the video. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So I play the video and I look and see what I do. Yep. Right there, you can hear the little beep. So I turned on GoPro number 2, and now what I want to do is add the video track from GoPro number 2 up here. So I click on GoPro 2 here, and that is 2260, and then I know that the next video is 2261. So I just take this one, drag it down, and then I'll have it like snap into place right here, because that's where I started the recording. And here you'll notice that GoPro number 2 is covering up the whole screen. And that's how I would want it for the final video. But while I do the rough edit, I only want it filling up the corner so I can see both at the same time. And the way I do that is by zooming in using this thing up here. Like if I hit zoom and I drag it, oh, you have to make sure you select the right one. So yeah, I screwed that up. So if I go, this has to be selected, and then I click on zoom. You know, I can make it bigger or smaller. I usually set it at 0.45, and then I have to move it with the X coordinate to the side, right about there, and then with the Y coordinate down to the bottom corner, like that. Luckily, of course, I can automate a lot of these things. So normally what I would do, let me undo both of those things. Normally what I do is take the attributes from this one, because this one has already been altered, and then I just copy it over to here. And it's a bit of a process to do it for the first time, but you select it, choose copy, go over here, select paste attributes right there, and now you select the attributes you want to paste, and I paste position and zoom, because I changed where the video is located, the XY position, and I've changed the zoom, and then I apply those, and now this one has been changed. And now that I've done that one time, those settings are in memory, and then I can do that automatically from this point forward. So I've got my GoPro number 2 up here on track number 2, and GoPro number 1 on track number 1, and now I have to sync them together. And unfortunately, that isn't working anymore. I always talk about the technological problems that I face. They are endless and they are unstoppable, and I could never figure out, like, nothing has changed. DaVinci Resolve is exactly the same. The GoPro videos are exactly the same, but for some reason right now, or for the last several days, DaVinci Resolve has not been able to sync these together. So let's see if it will work or not. So what I have to do is select GoPro number 2, and then I select GoPro number 1. So now they're both selected. Right click, then you go to auto align clips, and you want to auto align them based on the audio waveform. So I'll click on this, and let's see if it works, because for several days now it just won't work. Let's try it again. It's analyzing the audio, looking for a match between the two video clips, and let's see what happens. It's going slow. It's having trouble. Come on, let's see if it works. I'll bet I get an error message. Yeah, this is very slow. It's usually faster than this. There, see what I mean? Auto sync failed. It can't find a match between these two. And I don't know why. This hasn't worked for many, many days now, and it makes my editing process so much more difficult, because now I have to do it manually. And you do it manually by looking at the waveform and then trying to line it up with your eyes, and then you have to test it to make sure that you got it right. So they look very different, of course, because this audio track, this was recorded by the Rode Wireless Go, and it does a very good job at separating my voice from the background noise. So this part, that's the sound of the scooter engine, the roar of the engine, and this is my voice. But GoPro number 2, I don't have a microphone on it, so it's using the internal microphone of the GoPro, and it doesn't separate my voice from the engine noise, so it all looks the same. But you can kind of make it out. You can just sort of see my voice here. Like, here's a good example. So here's my voice on GoPro number 2, and there it is on GoPro number 1, and you can see it's not quite lined up properly. But let's play this audio and see if it's in sync or not.
The men there just now.
No, you can tell, right? There's an echo there. It's way out of sync. So then what I have to do is physically move this over to try and line it up, and then play it again.
Okay, let's see if I can get over to the other side.
There's still a bit of an echo there. They're not lined up. And the difficult thing here is when I want to move this clip over, in order to get fine adjustments, I have to adjust the zoom. So now when I move it over, it moves by a little bit. Let's try it again. I have to increase the volume a little bit for me so I can hear it.
Let's see if I can.
Yeah, they're not lined up. So let's move it over again.
Okay, let's see if I can.
Which one is starting first? I feel like maybe I'm going in the wrong direction here. Yeah, I'm going in the wrong direction. So I actually have to move it in the other direction.
Okay, let's see if I can.
That's pretty close. In this case, it doesn't have to be lined up perfectly because the video doesn't matter, because I'd be switching from one perspective to the other, and when you're looking at GoPro number 2, at this one, you don't see my lips. You don't see the movement of my mouth. So if it's off by like a millisecond,
it doesn't matter because you won't notice, when you watch the video. If the video, you can see my lips, then it has to be perfect, or else it's really annoying. But for this, it can be a rough sync. Let's try it again.
Okay, let's see if I can get over to the other side.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good, actually. Again, it's not perfect, but it's close enough because all I'm really doing is a rough sync of the video. And I just need it to be close enough. So now that I have it synced together, I can turn off the audio for the second GoPro because I don't need it anymore. The only reason I need this audio is to sync the two together, and maybe if this audio screws up, like if there's a problem with GoPro number 1 audio, I have GoPro number 2 as a backup. So I can reduce this to 0. Plus, if this audio fails and this audio fails, then over here I have this audio. This is the audio from the road, which was recorded internally. And it is a much cleaner, this would be the best signal that I could get because it's not recorded by the GoPro at all. But I only use this audio when this audio is unusable. But basically I have 3 audio tracks that I can fall back on. GoPro number 1, if it doesn't work, I can use GoPro number 2, and if that doesn't work, then I can go over to the road and get my audio backup, which was recorded by the road. So now this is all done in terms of placing it and syncing it.
Okay, let's see if I can...
All right, so now we need to cut it here at the start, right about here, and I cut here. An interesting trick with DaVinci Resolve is if I have a video selected and I choose cut, it's Command B to cut, I do it now, it only cuts the one that was selected. You can see this one is cut, but this one is not. So if I want to cut all of it at the same time, I can't have anything selected. So what I do is, like, nothing is selected, and if I put my playhead here, and now I hit Control B or Command B, it cuts all of them. So you can see it cut through all the way here. And unfortunately, they're not linked together, so I have to remove them individually. Normally, these would all be connected, and I can delete them all at once, but because they're not connected, I have to select this one, delete it, select this one, and delete it. And I can set this up so that it also automatically deletes the gap, but at this stage, I do that manually as well because it's so complicated to do that I really like to do it individually so I know exactly what's going on and I keep everything under control. So now that I know there's nothing here at all, I can select the gap, and then I can do what they call a ripple delete, which is on DaVinci Resolve, you press Function Delete or Function Backspace, and that deletes the gap and then moves everything together. So I hit Function Delete, and you'll see that these will move together. There. So that that is all the work you have to do before you can even start the editing process. Basically inserting the video files. And this one is a little bit interesting because looking ahead, I can see that the next video in the sequence is this one here with the blue boat, and it's number 22409. But the one that's in the timeline right now is 12409. And the way GoPros work, when the video file is really long, the GoPro breaks it up into chunks. So This one, I know 12409 and 22409 are actually two parts of the same video. So what I need to do is add the next one now. So I have to go all the way to the end of the file, and right here I need to add 22409. And in this case it's a little bit easier because I don't have to worry about syncing. So I grab 22409, put it in here, and it follows perfectly. Like the gap, there is no gap because this technically is the same video clip. The fact that there's two video files, that's because GoPro divided it into two parts. I didn't do that, the GoPro did it. But I do have to change the audio attributes. So clip attributes, change this to number 2, save it, and the same thing for GoPro number 1. It's 12261, and it also got divided into 2 because over here there is 22261. So I can take this, add it here, it locks into place. I don't have to worry about syncing because these two are synced. So if I just add the next one, these two are automatically synced, but I do have to change the perspective. Like notice here, I've got this video is in a small window in the corner, but if I play this video, you'll notice it will jump up to fill the whole screen. Right? So now also what I have to do is what I talked about earlier. I have to paste the attributes from the previous video, and I can do it automatically now because it's in memory. I right click, paste attributes, and as you see, position and zoom are pre-selected. I hit apply, and now I have to lower the audio to get rid of it, set it to 0. And now, finally, we're ready to start the actual editing. So this is where we started editing, and then now what I'll do is increase it to full screen so I can see everything much more clearly, and then I start playing the video and deciding where to edit it, like where to cut it, what to delete, what to leave behind. So then I sit down and I watch the whole video. I'll lower the volume so it's not so annoying.
Okay, let's see if I can get over to the other side.
So basically, I watch the video and I look at this perspective and this one in the corner, and I listen to what I'm saying. I look
easy, I think. I see like scooters.
I look at what's in the video, and now I'm making decisions about what to keep in the final video, what to remove. If I need to add any graphics, if I need to add music, if I need to add sound effects, anything like that.
Whether or not I'm interested in chartering a boat from them to go out to
and
the island.
I run into a problem here. I don't know if you noticed, but the audio was out of sync there. I was speaking, but it didn't match the movements of my lips. But that's because the MacBook isn't powerful enough to do this, like running 2 video tracks at the same time, and yeah, it just can't do it. So it often lags. They call that lag. The audio is lagging behind the video, or the video is lagging behind the audio. But because I synced together the audio and the audio and the video, I know it's lined up. I know that's fine, because if I play one individually, I can see that the original is good, so I don't have to worry about it. But it's really annoying when I'm editing video and everything looks wrong. It bothers me, but I know it's not wrong.
One guy finally said, you know, you go to Island? And I said, no, I don't think so.
Like you can see, everything is out of sync here. It's moving too slowly.
Whether I'm looking for a charter or not.
So that's pretty much it. And now I'm going to get out of full screen to get us back here. And yeah, that's basically the first step. All I've done there is take the next video clip, add it to the project, and once I have it added and I adjust the zoom and the positioning and the audio sync, now I can start the process of reviewing the video and then doing the next stage of this rough edit. So anyway, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to demonstrate right now. As I said, all I really wanted to show was how I add new rough video clips to the timeline, just in case anybody out there is interested in a little bit of a technical behind the scenes, the process here on Planet Doug.